This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.
G'day guys, welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Summer Helene, and I just got robbed apparently by US Bank.
Was it US Bank robbed you? I thought it was a different one.
No, it's US Bank.
Do they make essentially, it's the opposite. The bank robbed you instead of you robbing the bank.
Well, essentially, we sent something in saying that we were robbed by Walmart, and we had to send a written letter, and we did a bunch of stuff, and they're like, as a security measure, we're closing the account.
Why are these people holding you at gunpoint? What did you do to Walmart? What did you do to US Bank?
I have no idea, but they're like, well, it shows that you didn't buy it. I'm like, I'm so done. Hello. I'm Summer Helene, the Baroness of Ayrshire and Glenlyon, technically Lady Summer.
Yes.
But for those that don't know me, I'm the woman that is currently mad at the guy next to me. This is Teddy Bear, what's his face?
I think you already said my name, so I don't feel the need to correct that.
Okay.
When you explain the title situation with you,
Teddy
though?
Bear.
Fine, I don't care if it's Teddy Bear. What's your title? Because you said it's not like royalty. It's
peerage.
What is peerage?
Peerage. It means technically I'm an aristocrat.
Okay,
so
you're an aristocrat.
Peerage. It's a title of nobility.
So your family at one point earned this through work or through family or through what?
Both, and murder mostly.
Wait, what? What do you mean through murder?
We killed people, took their land, took their titles, did everything.
So then how do you determine a title?
The king gives it to you.
So if I murder someone who had a title, do I get to take their title?
No.
That idea goes out the window real quick.
No, King Charles is a good king. He wouldn't allow that.
Well, that's not. I believe you, but that's not what I'm asking you.
We killed. What is it? We killed Scottish people and took their land and took their titles.
Actually, one of your relative, one of your ancestors, murdered my ancestor. Yes. I am related to Mary Queen of Scots.
Everyone says they're related to Mary Queen of Scots.
Well, that's what my mother told me. What am I going to do? Go research that?
I would.
No.
You should.
I probably should.
So it's one of those things. Everyone in America says they're natives. And every one of European ancestry says they're either related to Mary Queen of Scots or whatever. The only one I ever believe is if you say you're related to William the Conqueror, I believe you because his children were prolific breeders.
Well, I was going to say him, or did you ever say Kublai Khan? Did you ever mention him?
Genghis Khan.
Oh,
yeah,
Genghis Khan.
It's Kublai Khan. Dude. Yeah, it was Kublai Khan. Genghis Khan's kid. 1/3 of the whole world is related to them, and most of Europe is related to William the Conqueror.
That's what happens when you don't have as many people as you do today, but then you fuck everything in sight. And
I'd like to remind everyone, every time we use money, bad language, we give money to the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and Free MMA.
We swear because we care.
Actually, that's called the Sean Patrick Flannery rule.
And we have it because
he said the F word 73 times in 20 minutes.
Fluidly. Like it made sense. It wasn't unnecessary.
But that's why I like the Irish.
They're really good at it.
I love Irishmen. They can run their mouth and still sound sexy while using dirty language.
Don't let your grandma hear that.
I know. My grandma, weirdly, her generation, she is weirdly racist against the Irish.
She's not like hateful. Is it really like racism, or is it more just a type of?
She is bigoted against the Irish, like Meghan Markle is bigoted against the English,
and bigoted against wearing clothes that fit her properly.
Yes, she is.
We're already back on.
So
Meghan
shout
Markle.
out.
It took us less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, the former prostitute. What is it? The former prostitute known as Meghan Markle.
The former prostitute.
Former prostitute turned Duchess.
Stopped.
Yes. So essentially, once she got married,
she's no taking shots at her.
No, I'm not opposed to social climbing. I encourage it. Please climb socially. If you can marry your way up, if you can marry your way into titles, into money, do it. She just did it repeatedly and kept trading up. So she sold her sexual favors for advancement.
Does that really count as social climbing? I feel like you can socially climb through friendships.
Hence, I said
you don't have to socially climb through people's hands.
said prostitute. The former prostitute known as Meghan Markle. But the point is, I mean, technically, Bear would be considered a social climber, not in a bad way. I'm titled.
Is it a prostitute way? I don't think so.
Not in a prostitute way.
Okay.
But in our industry, in the entertainment industry, I was certainly very far ahead of you, and being with me has helped your career.
Yes.
and I'm a baroness.
Okay, that's fair. I could see that.
And I'm a baroness, and you're a hairball.
And you're the baroness. I have titles too.
What?
The one you gave me, the baddest bear in the cage.
That's
my title. I'm gonna hold on to it.
Honey, you don't even have a belt.
I demand people address me as I don't really, but that's okay. What? Don't make faces.
You haven't even won the Ultimate Fighter.
I've never been on the Ultimate Fighter.
Okay,
I don't think I'm eligible for the Ultimate Fighter.
I will call the producer. Jeff's going on, apparently.
Yes, he's one of my good training partners and friends, Jeff. Congratulations to him. He's going to do great.
Nobody knows that yet. You're not supposed to announce that. Joe's going to kill you. I know the producer. We could put you on.
Well, I don't think, apart from not being eligible, I don't think I'm quite ready for it either. Ugh. These things, I want to say take time, but I've taken a lot of time. It takes a lot more than time. Yeah,
you bitched out after you lost your last fight.
That's really rude and mean and hurtful.
And true.
It's not true. We haven't taken another one. I'm working with my coach.
That's what I mean by bitched out.
It's not bitched out.
Okay, explain.
We just haven't taken one. I would have absolutely jumped on another one. Well, mainly because I got fat.
See, I like that. Yeah, he's like,
you don't know you're ready unless you try. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, shout out to our sound engineers. Like, you don't know if you're ready unless you try. Exactly.
Yes.
So you fought Jeff.
I've trained with him. I've not fought him.
Exactly. He'll beat the crap out of you in the cage and at Ultimate Fighter. What's the problem?
You're in a mood. You know that? You're on a tangent today.
A little bit.
A little bit. Mm-hmm. Is it? I got you like. I brought you 7 teas. This month was 7. I think I brought you like 2 teas this morning to help you wake up.
He also did buy me a really pretty Louis bag. So
I did, and I sneezed in my tea that I made this morning.
How dare you?
I was
in the the Commonwealth, that is considered a war crime.
It's considered a war crime in the
Although I do want to say to anyone in the Commonwealth, I encourage you, reach out, look into your family and look for old family titles, reclaim them and sue for them. I genuinely believe in so for those that don't know, I'm an imperialist. I genuinely believe
what?
An imperialist.
When you say that, I immediately thought of just the stormtroopers marching over some wayward town in Star Wars. What's your imperialist?
Well, yeah, it's sort of like that. But hear me out. I believe in the Commonwealth. And I think that the Commonwealth, for the good of the Commonwealth, I want to see more people with skin in the game. I want to see more people. Same.
What does that mean?
More people with skin in the game. Well, apparently he thinks it means stormtroopers too. But, by the way, shout out to Star Wars. You used English imperialism. You used Germany's stormtroopers. They went through history and took the most horrific and overbearing parts and went, yes. I love George Lucas.
Yeah, George Lucas, the best fascist imperialist ever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he is. I don't know.
No.
I like Star Wars a lot.
America's leaning into fascism. I'm an imperialist.
It's not. Different. Is it really leaning into fascism, or do we have some people who follow fascist ideals?
You guys. So as a country, as a country, America is leaning into fascism, and what that means is if you're really far left or you're really far right, you kind of come this full circle.
That's true. The far left and far right really do see a lot of
the same thing.
They have similar views.
It's by the time that you are giving sex changes to children. You won't let them get married.
It took me a second to compute. I felt like it was way out of left field.
Once you're doing medical experimentation on children,
yes, that is definitely entering fascism.
Now, that being said, socially, I'm incredibly liberal. Fiscally, I'm incredibly conservative. Politically, I believe America should be returned to the crown.
We're not doing well on our own. We are young. Give us time. We just started. We're like 200 some odd years.
Biden and Trump.
We ran Biden and Trump because they were the only options we had.
That's why you no longer deserve to govern yourselves.
Well, how many options do you guys get?
Like 25.
Why? What do you need 25 people for?
Because everyone gets their voice heard. It shrinks down. Think of it like a cage match, but everyone's in a cage, and whoever's left standing wins. But
that's chaos. You can get the worst person could end up winning.
No, they can't because they have to be voted for. But it does happen occasionally. I've seen, we've had a few terrible leaders. But what I'm saying, but our minority party has to work with the majority. Whoever wins and loses still have to work together.
Oh, right, because the loser becomes like the second in charge
pretty
or something
much.
Like that.
And so what you guys have done, America went, I've got a plan. Do you remember how Rome fell? Let's take their political system.
We just don't believe in awarding the first loser some kind of prize, okay? If you're second place, tough luck. We got someone else there to take your spot.
Which is how your country banned abortion. I'd like to point out the last.
It didn't ban abortion.
Hear me out.
It
the
just
last
has some
country
states that are like,
the last country,
pro-choice.
the last country that went, I'm going to return everyone's rights and we're going to pull back, was Iran. And in 10 years, the women went from miniskirts to burqas.
I was genuinely shocked looking at like 1970s, 1960s photos of just people in Iraq, and then Iran, and then modern day photos.
Yeah, they went after their royal family, nearly destroyed the royal family there, wiped it out. Most of the royal family from Iran, so you guys know, is living here in America and Europe. And so we're doing a television show right now on royalty in America. There's a lot of Iranian royalty. Of course I am. Yeah. What happened to them was horrific. And they were not a family that was abusive of power and that sort of thing. Thank God the Jordanians helped them out and everything, and the English, but it was horrifying what happened to them.
You know, I can kind of see what you're saying with the correlation here in the States, where we're kind of pushing towards a little bit more. See, conservative sounds so wrong. So I'm not trying to insult people who are on the right side of the field. I don't think every single one of them.
You insult everyone on the right and the left. What are you talking about? I insult
stupid people. That's the bottom line. I don't
He's
care.
Very much a centrist. He likes everything to go slow and straight, steady, right through the middle.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories. And if you want your child to have a sex change, you can go fuck yourself. I'm just saying that I'm not really inclined to try and nitpick a whole side.
I disagree. I think conspiracy theories are incredibly wonderful. Hear me out on this. It distracts people from real problems.
It's not wonderful.
That is. It's great. It's a great marketing tool. I use it all the time. I actually start conspiracy theories and push them out there when we need to redirect. I've worked for both political sides. I will take anyone's money.
But Republican normally hires you.
Republicans hire me the most.
For some reason, Democrats do not like to advertise. I don't know why.
Republicans hire me the most because they're better at marketing.
That's just it. Just pretty much.
But I have worked for both sides, and I'm who you call when you get caught with a prostitute. But I will say, realistically,
has someone been caught with Meghan Markle?
Yes.
Now we've gone full swing.
But once, I'm all for the centrist thing. I think that's wonderful. But I trust my government and yours more than you do, apparently, that if there is a conspiracy theory, they're good enough to hide it from me. You aren't going to find out random dude on Twitter.
We know aliens have made contact with us indirectly. And we say we know, meaning I believe the people they put on trial in the government to talk about it.
Aliens have made contact the way the English made contact way back when. Shout out to my forebearers. We go and they're talking about them being hostile entities trying to take stuff. I'm simply saying they're the imperialists here.
I just love how they brought it up. They're like,
hey. Which is why we need a stronger Commonwealth, which is why everyone should make sure they have their titles, and why I want to see the royal family expand, not shrink.
I just love you brought that really well round, actually. That was a great segue back to your point. I just want to state that I love how when they brought the dude to sit in the chair in front of Congress to talk about it, he's like, have we talked to aliens? No. But we've communicated in a way that they're not really trying to hide from us, which is quite concerning.
Why would they need to hide from us?
But that's my point.
We are the weakest species, clearly.
We don't want to know that. We want to think we're on top for those reasons.
We can't stop fighting amongst ourselves. We've yet to figure out how to harness the power of our own sun. And we are still fighting over bits of dirt. It was well put by William Shatner. When he went out to space, they actually sent Captain Kirk into space, bless them for it.
Yeah.
And he looked down and he realized that that is the only thing keeping us alive. Everything beyond Earth is desolate and dead and hostile towards us. There is nowhere else for us to survive. We need to stop fighting over little patches of dirt.
Probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm. So give it all to England.
No, don't give it all to England. Jesus.
Well, America clearly can't govern themselves.
America will take it, though, inevitably. I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to end up with
Which is why the Commonwealth needs to expand.
You're just too polite. You're too nice.
Have you never read a history book?
In modern times, you're too polite and nice.
Have you never read a modern book?
I don't know if I have read any modern books recently. I'm not much of a reader.
I'm going to welcome our guests.
Please do. And for everyone who's on the live stream, before we bring in our guests, please, go check out the link in the bio if you want to listen to everything.
You can also write in and talk to us while you're on. While we're on
and
the show.
While you're on the live stream, again, K4HD TV, you can write in the comments. But we'll see you guys there. Awesome.
You want to welcome?
Yes, please. Welcome to the show. Lee Tink, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. I love your chair.
Thank you.
The first thing I want to point out is
I got the memo on the wingback chairs. So
I like that.
Yeah, I think that played out well.
The big ass wingback chairs. Well, it looks like I'm entering a very spicy conversation. I like it. Think not the same kind of fists are flying that you normally have, Bear, but I like it. I like it.
No, it's been from the beginning till now, it's been back and forth. And what I've come to understand is that she wants to march over American land and soil and give it back to the fascists. What are you guys, imperialists of England?
Why is England doing such a great job at running their country at the moment?
No, but the Commonwealth, I think America should be drawn into the Commonwealth.
To what end? To what's the benefit?
So when you look at a sustainable global superpower or sustainable global situation, politically, America's system isn't sustainable. Same as Rome. Eventually, when you have two parties, you consistently start putting in the lesser of two evils versus a person who's best for policy. Rome's system showed that. America itself is a very, very strong country, and it does have colonies that it's done well with. But when you have countries expanding through Southeast Asia and unrest in the Middle East, by the United States aligning itself with the Commonwealth, you have stronger global goals and a similar global viewpoint. I think it strengthens position, it strengthens trade. And it strengthens our ability to protect countries like what's going on in the Middle East. And with, Tibet having been taken and what looks like it's going to be the loss of Taiwan.
I hit people. Can you make it stupider for me?
By people with similar morals aligning, we can stop bad people from doing dumb shit.
I think the fallacy, though, is I look at UK leadership and I go, that ain't it. Like they're letting the country be overrun. I actually think I had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine that are Brits, and I said to them, this was months ago when I started seeing what's going on, and I said, where are your patriots? Where are your patriots? You're letting a city like London be totally overrun. The police are cowed.
Always goes back on a pendulum. Right now, they've got what you would call liberal, what we would call just kind of left, essentially government. It swings back. It has for centuries. And so think of it like New York in the 80s. You had it overrun with crime. Then you have someone like Giuliani step in, it gets conservative. Then you have liberal government step in and the policies become socially looser. Then they go back and forth. And that actually keeps a lot of balance. Hence, we've got 900 years of it.
I'd want to see a trajectory towards sanity before I would even entertain it. I would say here in the US, we're now moving more towards a trajectory of sanity. I think the other thing, again, that my comment to my British friends were, where are your patriots? Their response was that ideology has actually been diminished in England, that the patriots have been suppressed. And I know what has always given me kind of peace of mind here in America, and despite people, of what's going on in here in America over the last years, and over the last year, and I've talked to lots of friends, and some people are like, well, no, you got to leave. I don't think that's the case at all. What I know, because I'm acutely aware of what the fabric of this country is, we have an immense group of patriots that don't. Can I curse on here? That they do not fuck with what's going on and what's been going on, and either it's going to change one way or another. But the patriots here, we have enough patriots that we won't allow it. I'm not sure I've seen the same evidence of that in England.
I think the biggest thing with England and Australia and a lot of the Commonwealth is the diminishment of the royal family. And I hate to put it that way, where Americans seem to worship politicians in a different way. Our focus was on the royal family. I think one of the biggest problems we've had is the former prostitute known as Meghan Markle turned Duchess. I'm not joking. She made a lot of money.
I don't know about anything about it.
There are photos. But she essentially, by accusing the royal family of racism, by going on international television and lying, it's all been proven. Oprah actually had to pull the interview because it made Oprah look like a jackass, which pissed off Hollywood because they like her. So it's by the never complain, never explain is very, very beneficial to a degree. but there needs to be a point, I think, where they push back. And what a lot of Europe's done is shrink the monarchies, and I think that's a negative in this particular case, because our patriotism was always built behind our behind our royal family. When you look at World War II, they asked the Queen Mother to take the children out of the UK, and she said, no, the children will not leave England unless I do. I will not leave England unless the king does, and the king will not leave England under any circumstance. And so that is what built pride in the Commonwealth.
Well, we need something to return there, to have, you know, good, proud Brits stand up for their country, their legacy, their history, and I mean, and frankly, take a leadership role in the EU, you know, in Europe, not the EU, but I mean, you just look at it. You have countries like Poland and Hungary taking much more of a stance to kind of protect what they're about than countries like England and France. So
I agree. I did find it interesting when when Russia invaded the Ukraine. Germany's like, right, we haven't had a standing army in forever. We're getting a standing army now, and the world went, yay! Like,
well,
we're not. This didn't work out well twice before, but like, sort of, yay, you're the hero. Like, good job, but should we be a little worried? It's like.
There's a lot. I think there's a lot of other things to worry about at the moment. So
agreed.
Anyway, but great to be here, guys.
Well, no, all right, that's a great intro to having
political debate. This isn't even a political show.
Would you do us a quick flavor here and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I have had a lot of different careers. I think I've turned kind of the art of transformation into kind of a steady part of my history. I started in a career that I almost barely remember. I was a prosecutor in New York City, in Brooklyn, for 3 years, and then decided that I wanted to be in the music business, and kind of bulldozed my way in. Didn't know anybody, didn't know what anybody did, but I was always in bands, always a big fan of music, and wanted to do something that I thought was lucrative. And I thought, well, I think people make money in the music business, and it seems like fun. And so I kind of talked my way into a record label, and fortunately had a pretty meteoric rise once I got in there. And eventually I became president of Capitol Records. I ran Virgin Records before that here in the U.S., not the British one. Ran a few other smaller labels, and hallmark of my record label, the record label part of my career, was breaking artists. The very first artist I broke kind of 6 months into my career was Kid Rock. The last artist I broke on my way out the door at Capitol was Katy Perry. Broke a lot of artists in between, 30 Seconds to Mars, Simple Plan, KT Tunstall. I don't think I'll be able to remember all of them off the top of my head. Then went into management, moved out to LA, went and managed a bunch of artists. Eventually, actually managed Kid Rock for about 7 years. So that was nice. He and I have had a pretty amazing relationship as both kind of working together and friends up until now. I think I actually posted a picture after Trump won of I met Trump with Kid Rock in Nashville earlier this year, and then got connected to gaming and esports. When somebody showed me an article about gaming and esports, I'd never heard the word esports before, and it was an article about kind of massive viewership. The way the article went was this finals of the League of Legends tournament was only second to the Super Bowl as far as audience, and I'd never heard of the word esports. Yeah, and this was years ago. This was maybe 9 or so years ago. And I thought, okay, let's go try this. Let's go take a look. If there's something this big, I've always been kind of student of pop culture and a student of what goes on in entertainment. Signed a group of guys that were well known within gaming, unknown anywhere else, called FaZe Clan. Kind of a group of gamers, was not really a business. And after kind of consulting with them for a couple of years, decided, okay, I'm going to go full time into this space with these guys. We turned this brand into a juggernaut. We turned it into a global phenomenon. I would say, one of, if not the biggest youth culture brands of the last number of years. And we, again, went from nobody understood what we were doing to cover of Sports Illustrated, Nike shoe sponsors like Porsche and McDonald's and a list of others, and took the company public a few years ago. And I parted ways with the company last September, and spent about a year on activism and kind of figuring out, all right, what's the next transformation?
You're going to come join me in MMA Television Interactive.
Okay.
I got a big thing coming up in Nigeria. We're working with a bunch of the families there.
Okay. I've never been to Nigeria, but I'm down.
Perfect.
So
okay, I'm on board.
He said it here. This counts. This is legal. I'm taking him. Are you kidding? He's brilliant. I know half the people I know worked over at Capitol. You survived there. That makes you one of the best I'm not kidding. That makes you one of the best producers in the world. And if you can manage musicians and stuff, like, hear me out. I love your manager, but my God, you're tough.
Well, because I will tell you, and I know a lot of people in entertainment that manage different things. I think there's nothing like managing an artist, because you really are kind of CEO of their entire enterprise. And if you have a big artist, it's really an enterprise. If you think about the tours, the records, all that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I actually think that the toolkit that the music industry overall gives you is unparalleled. I've always hired ex-music people in other companies of mine, and there's just it's a very sharp-elbowed group, right? Like it's sharp-elbowed. You have to be scrappy, and you have to do it with almost no resources, right? Especially on the management side, it would be the same drill all the time. I would walk into a meeting, there'd be 9 people on the other side of the table, and there'd be me and my assistant, or me and somebody work. And that was it. Every phone call was so you just had to be a different kind of animal
one of my top producers. I love him. His name's Todd Hahn. Our interview went as far as, he said, I used to manage Motley Crue. We're done. We're hired.
Yeah. I need to know we're good.
I know Tommy, like a new pan back when,
yeah.
Don't tell. Say less. We're good. That was it.
That's insane, dude. So from music to video games now to fighting, I'm sure you hit that moment in life where you're like, this is what I'm going to do. But 5-year-old you, I can't imagine, was thinking that he was going to be the head of Capitol Records. So I'm curious, where was that moment of all right, this is exactly what I'm going to hop into?
I think for a lot of my career, I just was going forward. I think what's interesting, and maybe this is why I've done different things, is I've never had a destination. I had a kind of a very simple philosophy, which was good path, bad path. Am I on a good path that leads to other opportunities, other things that are exciting, or am I in a bad path with fewer opportunities, fewer interesting things? And that was it. And so, look, and I think also, I grew up in Queens. I was born to kind of a lower middle class neighborhood. I'm first generation American. I'm a product of the American dream, which is also why I'm such a patriot. But I think the other thing, and this is maybe my advice to other young people, is if I shot for a destination, I would have undershot. I would have done less than what I've ended up doing, because I didn't have the audacity to dream that big. I just didn't. And I didn't know anybody. The most successful person I knew was my dad, who had built kind of an amazing business as an immigrant. But that was really it. I didn't know anybody in any other field or anything like that. I didn't even know that you could love your job. I didn't even know that was a thing, So I think I would have undershot. Yeah. If I could go back and tell my 12-year-old self or 15-year-old self that I would make a living off of working with artists and and frankly, even I've had the privilege of working with artists that I revere, right? Like I did a record with Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz is like one of my all-time, maybe my number one favorite artist of all time. And I got to work with him. And that was, I can't
also
believe
one of those people that does not disappoint. Like
Yeah.
you meet those artists that disappoint you, you're like, oh, you suck.
Yeah.
He does not disappoint.
No, he's one of one. He's amazing musically, as a person, as a human being,
He doesn't disappoint. Now, Bear's audience, I'm going to say this, is pretty much Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and all young guys. What advice would you?
Well, they know FaZe Clan for sure.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Is I told you when I first met you, and I'll tell you right now, as I'm looking at our live comment stream, they're talking about FaZe Clan. They never knew you. They the head or the person who started the whole thing, so they just they love the product. I hate to call it a product, but they love what you've created, what you've crafted.
Yeah. Well, look, I didn't start the brand. Funny enough, the rest of the co-founders also didn't start the brand. Like the brand was started by three guys that were kind of in and out pretty quick, and then other people came in at different times, added different components to it. And
think of it like McDonald's.
What's that?
Think of it like McDonald's. Sometimes a good product needs the right person to promote it, the right people to be the face of it. It's a great start, but you got to have the right people to grow. You do.
Well, look, I had a philosophy behind it of this could be like a lot of what I spoke about is at the time when I got into gaming was just not respected at all. And it didn't sit around the cultural table is how I thought about it. You had all of these other kind of big cultural, verticals of music, film, television, sports, fashion, even I put there. And gaming was kind of off in a corner, not respected, despite how the audience was huge. And, there's a lot of, and I don't want to digress into my philosophy of why that was, but it was just not really respected. And for me, as somebody who I think that I've been a cultural driver, I've been, I've helped to bring brands to life and add to artists' brands in terms of their expression and how to build their fan base. And so it was really the same thing. Like all the skills that I did with artists, that's how I looked at FaZe Clan. I looked at them as bringing something cultural. It wasn't just the esports, like there's a competitive side of gaming on the esports side, but the other part was cultural, and gaming was driving the culture. At least at that time. I think now gaming has lost something a little bit. Like they I think also games, for some reason, there hasn't been a new hit game in really a long time since Fortnite. That's really done something new and galvanized people. But in our era, at our height, we were driving culture. We were driving youth culture and doing things that like nobody expected from a brand like ours.
I think a big, I'm going to have you read off the comments. We've got people asking if you like Linkin Park. What's the one down the force?
I want to say this. I thought this was so cool that we have one of our people on right now talking about how his goal, his dreams is to actually make content and work with the FaZe YouTubers, the brand you created.
You've got a lot of fans here.
You really do.
And I got to say, I think micro gaming and the phone gaming has affected my friends like over at Blizzard, people I know, even when we look at some of the guys that do the UFC games, there's been kind of a downward trajectory, the same as there has in television, which is kind of my neck of the woods, because it's difficult to get people to congregate around one thing anymore because everything's so niche. We all have our favorite YouTubers we follow. It's not like, back then where you had a driver. And so everything, even when we sell fights, when we sell shows, we have to hit each individual group and pull them in, where there used to be larger cultural drivers. Like back in the day, what was it? Baywatch got a ridiculous amount of views, where today it wouldn't, because there's more to watch, there's more to do. We all have our favorite things. And there hasn't been a game that pulled on the cultural zeitgeist the way that Minecraft or Fortnite has. There's just
that's really it. I mean, because I think I agree with you. That had been the trend on almost every other entertainment, right? There were some artists like a Taylor Swift that galvanized a huge group of people, but that was the anomaly. But we bucked the trend. Gaming was bucking the trend. Gaming was magnetizing all of this audience, bringing them around this it was almost like the biggest secret club in the world or something. Like it was like gamers knew and nobody else did. And Fortnite is what really transformed it and brought it into more mainstream. I think also FaZe Clan. I think what we did, we brought gaming into the mainstream by doing and it's funny when, we were working on getting the Sports Illustrated opportunity. We had that opportunity. What's really funny is this disconnect between kind of even our gamers, even my co-founders and us that were thinking they didn't get Sports Illustrated. They didn't understand why. And it's funny. It's like a bummer that Banks, I think he still regrets that he didn't even do the cover. We wanted him on the cover. He didn't think it was important, but what they missed was it was this marriage of this new media sphere and the traditional media sphere that was really explosive because, granted, all of the traditional, all of those things are losing audience, but it's still massive and it's so.
And you hit the nail on the head. You guys are Taylor Swift. I mean, that is the best. That is the best. You know what I mean?
Not in that way. So I don't, Yeah, we're cooler than that, but
that's it. She does exactly that, and so do you. Which is, you hit the traditional media, you hit the new media, you pulled along those lines. And I think a lot of the people coming up now don't have the ability to reach into old media, and a lot of old media have. I mean, the guys I work for, bless them, I love them. But they call me to ask why the Google isn't working. Yeah. They run studios, these are the studio heads. They've been there forever. They're brilliant, and their knowledge is invaluable, but they don't know new media.
Yeah.
And the young guys coming up don't know old media. And for you to be able to marry that is how you create a cultural phenomenon.
Well, I love that. I always like doing things new. I also like both disruption and creating evolution. And so I do feel like I've been able to sit in this rarefied place of spending a lot of time in the traditional entertainment space and then spending and helping to build this new era. And so that, again, it's when I think about this, my kind of schizophrenic career history, I love how those pieces interplay.
Well, look at it what is it? Rock music has no place now. It's harder to produce. No. You don't have any big bands coming up. It's because it's people that have to get together, create the music. It doesn't have the same audience that it used to. It can't be one person, being recorded, touched up and sent out. It's much harder to get out there. Anything that requires that level of work isn't sold that way. And what you did required that level of work. So I think what the industry, just on my end, should learn from it is those collaborative ideas still work, and maybe we should put more time into them.
Well, look, I won't give up on the future of rock music. It's been a long, empty road for the last,
Stain was the last to get on the charts in 2002. That is let's not talk about how long ago that is.
No, it
was the last one to chart. It's been a while because we talked about that the other day.
Wait, which record was that?
Stained, It's Been a While, was the last one to chart that high, and that was.
We had some I did 30 Seconds to Mars after that. I think we broke 30 Seconds to Mars in maybe 04, 05, and that was. So that was. I do feel like I was able to participate in the last gasps of rock music.
Right. And I love rock. It was.
Yeah, it's just been. It drove me to country. I had never listened to country my whole life, really. And then finally, I was like, all right, I'm done waiting for rock. Let me start the rock side of country. And now I've become a huge country fan because at least they're doing songwriting. It's musicianship. It's different than what kind of the pop and the EDM music is.
I just listen to underground stuff from the UK. That's all I have left.
I wanted to ask, actually, do you find a particular genre or artist easier to work with than other genres?
It really depends on individually. Like rock used to be easier to navigate from a business standpoint because you could grassroots it. Pop was always really hard. Pop is always the biggest risk, the biggest financial investment. The records cost more. The producers are all expensive. Taking a shot to go break a pop record is really expensive because there is no like grassroots pop movement. So you have to kind of explode on the scene, and all that is risk, right? Now, the record business these days is they don't really take the risk because there's a lot more data available than there used to. There was like no data. When I was running record labels, we didn't have data. It was all kind of instinct and belief. And I think those of us that were like, I think I look back at my track record at being like, almost like a baseball player, like 300. I was batting 300, which that is so you can have an incredibly successful career batting 300, which means you're wrong most of the time, right? Yeah. Like it's the kind of thing that I would tell people who would play me a demo and whatever. And, I'd want to let them down easy. I'd never bullshit anybody because I don't think it helps them. So, I would say, I'd give them whatever my feedback is. And if I didn't think it was like strong enough or whatever, I would say, hey, look, I don't think so. But, I'm wrong most of the time. I'm really good at picking, but I'm wrong most of the time, which is part of the maddening, part of being in the music business.
I think what did they say? It used to be, and I could be, my friend Gloria was over at Capitol, probably under you. She's up there now with the execs. But she said you had a couple of different roads when you're looking at pop. You could do like Taylor Swift, go from country transition. You can do, you can kind of transition in, or you can fuck really, really well and hope that someone gives you a shot. And I'm looking at her and I was like, that is rude. She's like, I'm not joking. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It doesn't matter whether, it's sex or favor, whether you're writing songs for someone, you are selling something to get that shot. And when you get that shot, you better make it good because you're getting it once. I was like, okay. That's
really fair. Cutthroat, honestly.
Yeah.
They make us look nice. Are you kidding? They make us look nice. We're the good guys. No offense.
Fortunately, when the Me Too movement and all that stuff happened, I was calm as a cucumber because we were not up to any shenanigans, thankfully. So,
no, absolutely. I like to hear that too, especially considering all the latest stories about different artists coming out. And
what saddens me is the best in pop was Dr. Luke, and he's had nothing but
Dr. Luke. I'm sorry.
He did the first two, the big Katy Perry singles.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Dr. Luke.
Mm-hmm. You want to break this
very expensive, Yeah. And Katy Perry was dropped by 2 labels prior to us signing her. Like that was when you could take a risk and work to crack the code, and we cracked the code.
I Kissed a Girl was the one that just made her.
That was it. I put that on the record. That was almost
genius. Absolutely genius. Perfect for the time. Brilliant, especially because that was when the whole every young girl was experimenting with bisexuality that was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Well, let's hit this. Why? Why did you make that decision?
So we had a young A&R kid. He's not so young anymore. Great kid, Chris Anacute, that was putting together the record, and we were listening to what had been kind of assembled as the loose record. And we were debating the first single, and first singles are always monumentally important. There's nothing, first singles are different. The sort of criteria is different about why, like it has to both encapsulate the artist and stamp what it is and it has to accomplish a lot and cut through. And we were listening to all these songs and I didn't think we had it. We were debating. We had Hot and Cold cut, which was also Dr. Luke, which became a hit later. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And I know my feeling was it didn't feel like it was a slam dunk for a first single. And look, you never have a slam dunk. So I went and sat with Chris, and he played me all the other demos that we didn't fully cut. And so he's playing me a bunch of them. And then he plays me I Kissed a Girl. And I was like, geez, and especially the demo was like, edgy. It was super edgy. Like I remember my comment was, and this was a different time where he mattered. I said I could almost picture Marilyn Manson singing over these guitars. Like the guitars were super.
Oh my God, that would be fun. Like he did with Tainted. Sorry.
Well, I just felt like it was cool. Like that, the song was cool. The riff was cool. The challenge was it was a Dr. Luke song. It was very expensive. We made the decision to cut Hot and Cold. I mean, like when I say expensive, it was like $250,000. And now after that, he succeeded with that, he wouldn't even produce a track unless it was assigned to his label. But, I listened to it and I just was like, that song just sounds too good. And I remember I called the manager and I said, you're going to think I'm crazy. Like it felt a little crazy at the time. And I said, I think it's I Kissed a Girl. I think that's it. I think we should cut that song. And then we also put out like this EP that had a song called You're So Gay. And it got a little play. It was meant to like warm it up. And we did a video and she performed it on Carson Daly. And then we were debating, well, do you follow up a You're So Gay song? It was like You're So Gay was more about like, she was kind of giving a hard time to like guys that were a little like, I guess the term back then was metrosexual. Yeah. That way, an old term for your Gen Z, Gen A folks of like guys that were, a little too caught up with some things that weren't necessarily seen as masculine. And so that was it. And we were like debating it. And we were just like, you know what, let's just pick this great. And I was kind of adamant that this is a song, we've got to do it. And thankfully it worked.
Well, you made her a star because I can tell you, I was in high school and finishing school when this came out, and we are supposed to be very proper girls. Well, you got everyone there was like, I kissed her. Like it was, and I think it did encourage some lesbianism. I was at a private girls' school. And points to it.
Music has that effect. Culture has that effect. That's why culture is so important. It changes people's minds. So,
it's incredibly important.
You seem to have been, I understand. You seem to have been kind of like that forefront of culture and kind of getting people's faces, whether it's been in music or other forms of entertainment. So I think as we're getting close to the end of the show, I start finishing it out. I want to know what would be your advice to anyone who wants to kind of break into and maybe take on one of the roles you did or currently do and get in people's faces with a product or a person.
Well, I think getting in people's faces is key, right? Like, you have got to be, no matter what you want to do, being assertive is going to be your best road forward. Having strong opinions, while could be controversial or people might think you're difficult or whatever, like that's how you accomplish things, like taking a stance, being assertive, making your feelings known. Like if people who go along with everybody else, they stay in that pool with everybody else. And the people that are willing to champion their ideas and frankly, whether they're unpopular, whether they're risky, whether they're like, that to me also, like when I think about all of the biggest successes that I've had, they've all been dark horse candidates. They've all been ones where conventional wisdom was, this is not going to work, which is maybe I especially like that. Like I love, like if you're going to say to me, no, you can't get that done, I'll be like, hold my beer and watch. Like, it's so I think I tend to gravitate to that, but that's also like where you can make magic happen in places that people don't see. And so I would say, believe in yourself, like have convictions about your own thoughts and your own beliefs and go fight for that. Now, don't invent conviction. You have to actually have it. You can't, that's one where, there's a lot of things where you can fake it till you make it. But if you're going to champion ideas, you sort of can't fake that. You better believe, because ultimately, what are you trying to succeed with if not your faith in fill in the blank, and then take that faith, put it on your back and barrel through.
I think that is the best thing. Yeah, that is we've been on air for 12 years, and I got to tell you, that is the best statement I've heard. What is it? This went from like Sirius, we've been on Sirius XM, 640 AM, like we've been on forever, and I got to tell you, in 12 years, that is the best statement, the best ending statement I've ever heard.
Thanks.
You've got to have real conviction. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Oh yeah.
I know they wanted to ask a question. We have about 3 minutes left. Can you please tell everyone where to find you on social media?
Sure. Basically at Lee Trink on every platform except TikTok is at lee.trink, but my main platform is Instagram. That's where I do most of my content. And yeah, at Lee Trink.
Check like information about things you have upcoming, what you're doing, new projects, things of that nature, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. Like again, I've spent the last year dedicated to activism, and now I actually have a startup that I'm gonna launch. I'm doing yet another transformation into more of the tech world. I've been very focused on AI and thinking about how AI is both going to disrupt businesses, augment businesses, and create totally new industries. And I think it's going to do all of those things. So I'm very excited about kind of my first AI startup. I won't bore you with it, but it's in legal tech. It's like kind of giving access to the little guy to kind of have access to justice. The name of the company and brand is called Flash Justice, but nothing to do. It's like we're not launching until next year, but I guess I'm going back to my legal roots and just again doing something I have conviction over, right? Which is
that makes sense. No,
I'm going to rope him. I'm going to rope him into coming and helping us with the Children's Hospital in Nigeria. So just.
Cool. I'd love to do
that. Activism, right?
Yeah, I was like, that's what I'm trying to track you into in Nigeria.
Right on.
I love that.
Man. I was just thinking, we spent all this time talking about the things you have done, and we totally forgot to talk about that project we do coming up with the Flash Justice, and I wanted to ask questions about that. So if it's okay with you, we'd love to have you back on at a future date to go over that.
I'd love to. I'd be down, totally down, for sure.
We'll have you on. Yeah. I appreciate that. We didn't get to a lot of the questions. I know a lot of Bears guys were asking questions. We'll get to that next time. I got caught up.
Do another one. Yeah.
Well, cool. I got caught up talking to you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for joining us. And Absolutely. Thank you for giving everyone into an insight into what it really takes to get anywhere. It takes backbone. Like really, the thing that's hard to stress is you got to have guts to the point of stupid sometimes. And it was.
Well, you have to be willing to be called stupid. You have to be willing to appear foolish, to have conviction, to prove people wrong. And this is something, it's kind of unparalleled to prove people wrong, especially when you do it over and over again.
I like that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, make sure you are following him. He's incredibly transformative. More than that, if you want to look at somebody who's successful, we all watch these videos. I see you guys, especially you young guys, are online looking at like how to pick up girls, how to be successful, how to do all of that. Look to the people before you that have done well.
Yeah.
And they'll all have one thing in common. They're willing to take risks.
Yep. As the kids say today, stand 10 toes down on business. I'm jiggy with it and hip.
Yep, you're down. You have the 411. Anyway, I'm the Baroness.
Oh, man.
This is my co-host, Bear Fiorda. Thank you for joining us on Behind the Scenes, talking a little bit about royalty, a little bit about politics, a bit about culture. Yes. We'll be talking a little bit about fighting coming up. And, of course, Bear has a fight coming up. This is Behind the Scenes. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.